Okay, so I'm trying to build the reservoir for the waste oil burner. The problem I'm running into is I wasn't going to build it. I was just going to buy like a tank. The problem with that is can't find a tank that will fit the area over here. I'll actually show you that. The area that I want the tank in, which is here, and it is bolted to the wall. And I've done a push-up in it, or pull-up, whatever, and I weigh like 230, so I'm not too worried about the poundage on it. So the only thing that I have, because I can't afford to buy enough metal to make this, is some stuff that it's called explosion-proof Lexan. It's actually bulletproof up to like, I think it's like a 45. But this stuff here, and they make doors out of it in labs. It's a half-inch thick. It will hold the weight. I can seal it, and it will do fine for water. The problem is this stuff is extremely dangerous to cut. I'm actually recovering from an injury that happened on this very saw with this very stuff, where it came back and hit me in the stomach and ruptured a hernia. So this stuff is really dangerous to cut, and it can only be cut pretty much by a table saw with a rough framing blade. If you get like a fine blade or anything like that, it will just melt. It will just melt and melt itself right back together. And you have to do it again and again and again and again, and then it messes everything up. Yeah, so you have to cut it with like a rough framing saw blade. So I'm going to rip down 2 of these sheets and then try to do it with a circular saw to cut down the other parts. So I'm just letting you know what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to film this. Like I said, the last time I ended up getting injured, and I kind of like to have video for this. So I'm really not going to put video of me, I don't know, probably get my stomach ripped open by this stuff. But we'll get back to you when it's done, hopefully. Alright, so we're back. I didn't kill myself. So these are the pieces here, and that piece there, the bottom piece is cut off. These are the pieces that are going to make the fuel cell. So now what we got to do is I need to drill this stuff because it's ½ inch, and I really don't have a lot of really long screws for this, and I may end up actually having to go to Lowe's or order some. But I'm going to try to drill through. The idea is to drill through like this side piece there like this, and then it bolts just all along the side here and the bottom. I don't want any bolts on the bottom of the fuel cell where it sets on that one button. So I may have to go get some better screws than what I have. I think they're a little short, and calculations say this is going to hold 22.16 gallons or something like that, which is 177 pounds. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you can't seal this with silicone. I found that out. I didn't know that. Silicone will dissolve if you put it in oil. I had no idea. I didn't think it would. So you have to get the RTV gasket maker silicone, like for an automotive application, in order for it to hold up from the oil. So I'll have to get some of that because I don't have a tube of that laying around. At least not a tube that's going to seal up all of this. one of the advantages of making this out of the Lexan is, so this right here I can see through, and I'm going to have the valves on the inside of the garage, so when it starts to run out of fuel, I can just turn the valve, pressurize the tank outside, and it'll push the oil from the 55-gallon drum into this reservoir. And I can see as the reservoir is getting full where to shut the air off and not have oil everywhere. But all right, so the whole thing with the bent T-squared, I ended up with a little bit off. Had to re-drill some holes and stuff, but overall it's fine. I did have some gaps. I went around and sealed it both on the outside and the inside with the Gorilla Glue, and I had that RTV silicone gasket maker that you have to have with this. To seal the inside on order is supposed to be here tomorrow. Why all my automotive people didn't have a tube of this stuff, I'll never know. Seems like you should probably have this in the auto stores, but apparently not. So I ordered it. It'll be here tomorrow, and that'll give all this Gorilla Glue time to settle down, cure overnight, and then I'll go back and I will reseal the inside of it with that so that the oil doesn't disintegrate my stuff. But hopefully, we'll put that in and I'll let it cure, and then we'll just do a water test. I'll just fill it, maybe halfway up with water. Dimensions on this are, well, let's see. Yeah, I know what I started with on the dimensions, but so we got about 14 and a half deep by 19 long by about 15 and a half tall. So it should be about 20 gallons. I do have a top portion for it, which goes on like this. I'm not too worried about the top sealing down really well. I'm only going to put like maybe 4 bolts in it to hold the top down. Right in the center is where I'm going to put my supply line that comes from the outside on the 55-gallon drum, and then comes in to here and fills this tank up. And then here will just be a hole for a vent, because I don't want pressure to build up. And I'll put some type of little screen on it to keep any dust or debris or from anything getting inside of this tank. And this is actually the back of this tank. In front, like I said before, this Lexan was made for doors at a lab. So it had these little hand cutouts on it. And I specifically put this one here because I wanted something to do with the peel line. So I just made this my peel line right here. Probably another gallon gone, so maybe 19 gallons. But the way I'm going to plumb everything, I won't have to go outside to pressurize the tank or anything to get oil coming in. So I'll go over that when we get around to the plumbing and everything. But this will set one, that mount that I showed you earlier, and it should set pretty much perfect on it on the outside dimensions. this thing's pretty heavy. So it's probably a good thing that I'm minus 2 gallons. 2 gallons of oil, about 16 pounds. And this probably weighs a good 20 pounds. Just because how thick it is. And so that'll bring it up to somewhere around 180 pounds when this is full, plus the weight of this on that mount. And if you're wondering about the air pump, the air operated pump it's from Harbor Freight. It goes into the standard 2-inch 55-gallon drum threads, and you just thread it in. It comes with a regulator and a shut-off valve and this and that. I'm going to put another shut-off valve in here so that I don't have to go outside. And I think it's got a max working pressure of 10 psi. And from the reviews that I read on it, at about 5 to 7 psi, it outputs I think somewhere around 7 gallons every minute. So it's pretty fast. So it really shouldn't take that long to fill this up with oil as I'm using it in the shop. Because even if I get down to, here, I'm only going to put probably, maybe 12 to 15 gallons before it gets to the fill line. So it'd probably fill that up in like 2-3 minutes. So I'll definitely have to be standing beside the shut-off valve as I'm filling this up, and that's why I really wanted to make it out of something clear so I could see where my oil level was. And as soon as it gets up here, I'll shut it off, take the air off, and then bleed the line so that the 55-gallon drum doesn't explode from air pressure. All right, guys, so we're back. I was going to try to get some footage of me filling this, but it was raining when I was trying to get the water hose out here. I didn't end up going with the air operated pump. The water hose was long enough. I just took the top off of it and filled it up. But it fits in there pretty much perfect. Now you can probably see I got that stuff all over the place, but we're not going to worry about that because I'm going to paint this red to match the rest of the stuff, and that's what I've got a piece of black vinyl over here. So we'll paint it, and then we'll take this back off, and it'll give me that clear section all the way up to my fill line up there, so I can tell how much oil is in it. But it does have water in it right now. It's almost up to the fill line right now, which I can tell that my mount's just a little off level, but oh well, who cares? And I do have my shut-off valve right here. I've already drilled and tapped this and put this in. So after this sits here a couple days, I'll use this to drain all the water out of it. And we do have, hold on a second. So here is the top. And you can see I've drilled and tapped right here, and I put a barb fitting in, and this is going to set just like that on the top of it, and that's where my hose is going to go, and then it's going to wrap around the garage out to the 55-gallon drum, and that is the supply line for where the air operated pump outside will pump the oil through that line into this barb fitting and then into the fuel cell. And then there's a vent hole right here, and I will probably, since this is Lexan, I'll probably just needle valves, from what I've heard, is it only takes a little bit of debris to mess those up. And then you got to unplumb all your lines and everything to replace that needle valve. I don't really feel like doing that, so we're just going to take a little bit of precaution and not get the dust and debris into that. So we're going to let this set up here for a couple days anyway. It's been up here for a couple hours now, and I don't see any leaks. And I don't see any of this blowing. So I think I'm good. But I'm gonna leave it up here a couple days just to make sure. I can still press down on this with my hand, and the metal's not moving. So it's bolted to the wall. It's apparently going to hold the weight. But like I said, I am going to leave it up there for a couple more days just to prove to myself that I'm not going to have a boiler on in my shop floor. But I've got a piece for the exhaust to fit in here, and it's just a little bit shy from fitting in. So I will have to take the plasma cutter and go around here and cut maybe, I don't know, maybe an 1/8 inch all the way around this hole. And then that piece should fit in. I've cut the bottoms of it to where, actually there it is, hold on. So I've cut the bottoms of this piece. It's going to sit like this. And I've cut these so that when it sits down in there, I can just reach my hand in and bend these over. And that will hold this piece in, and then the exhaust will attach to that. And I have got that. So I've got a tube of this. It's basically gasket cement meant for 2,000 plus heat. So I'll be putting that here where the copper line goes in, and then once I get this down on top and down into that and bent over, I'll run a bead over that, so we can seal everything in, and that way I don't have to worry about carbon monoxide or something like that. And then this will go up through that brick wall and then back up like a small chimney, you know. So hopefully that'll all work out, and then I'll have to run this and an air line and a regulator and shut off valves for the 55-gallon drum thing. We're going to let that set for a couple days, and hopefully nothing happens. If it sits there and nothing happens, which would be ideal. And after that, I'll drain the water. I'll start plumbing it to the burner, and then I'll start on our supply line and the air hose that will go outside to the air-operated pump on the 55-gallon drum. So I'll come back to you when I'm doing the plumbing on this, and I don't know if I'll do that the air hose and stuff the same day, because I don't know if you can see into the camera, but right here, I think it's just out of camera, that's where my air line comes up from my compressor, and then it goes that way down through a couple of lines, down to a manifold down there. So what's going to happen is I'm going to put a manifold right here in the ceiling here and plug these in, and then put another airline that goes outside with the shutoff and a regulator that goes out to the drum. So, but I will film that one, and hopefully I don't fall off the ladder when I do it, because I fell off the steps the other day. I don't know how I managed that one, but that happens. So we'll get back with you when we're ready to plumb this up, and be dry. Hey, you're back. I totally did this out of order than what I was telling you I was going to do. But I told you I was going to do the plumbing for this first. I ordered the stuff for this, and it is lost somewhere in transit. So I guess all these fittings are in fitting heaven somewhere. I don't know. Amazon doesn't know where they're at either. So I'm waiting for those to come in. But in the meantime, I wanted to do something. I know earlier in this video I was sick, and apparently I never got rid of it. So I got real bad again, and I'm actually pretty bad now. So I've been working on this a little bit at a time. And the problem around here is that I have 36 cameras, security cameras on this property, and probably like 9 monitors at my desk in the house. So all she has to do is sit down, and there's three security monitors on the inside of this garage. She can tell if I'm out working in the garage, and she immediately comes back and tells me, "No, you can't be working. You're back in the house. You're really bad." So it's taken me a while to get anywhere on this stuff. And what I can tell you is that I hate airlines, specifically airline filters or fittings, because everything has leaked to the point to where I've had to take like Gorilla Glue and put on the fittings and then tighten the bands down around them to get the stuff to seal. It's been unreal the amount of fitting problems I've been having. So we'll walk you through what I got done on. This is done now to the fuel. So as I said, this is done to the fuel. This is actually this. I was going to put this manifold on the ceiling, but there's no real good way to mount that. So I just kind of let it set like that. This goes to. I got it unhooked because I still don't trust those fittings. I had this hooked up the first time that I put these fittings together. And it just so happened that I came out here at about 3 a.m. in the morning, and my air compressor was running, and it was hot. I could feel the heat through my air compressor's underneath this. I could feel the heat through this, and it sounded weird. So, come to find out that fitting up there had blown off, and this had been running for probably a couple of hours. So I shut everything down, let it cool down, fixed the fitting, and it will go in and not leak now, but I just kind of err on the side of caution, and I just unhook this when I'm not here. So this is the air input side, and this has to go to the regulator. So I got stuff in the way everywhere. So this is a regulator set up, and I've got it set up a certain way with shut-off valves. So we'll hook this up. So now it's energized. Okay, this valve is open. This is what goes. This hose goes outside to pressurize the drum. Okay, this is the in, and this is the out to the drum. So this is from this line right here coming to right here. So the way I'll do this is I'll close off this, and then I'll open that, and I don't think the camera can hear it, but you can hear this little plunger depress. You might notice that the needle valve really doesn't, or that the needle on this gauge really doesn't move. But they're in there. But it's only running after that initial out. It's only building up between 5 to 7 psi. I was told on many different videos that 10 psi would blow up a metal 55-gallon drum. And the pump says max 10 psi too. So I set it up like this so that I can see my oil here. When I get up to my fill line, I can just shut this off, which is the input of air. Do that. It's open. There's no air. I've depressurized the 55-gallon drum out there, and then I'll shut it back off. This way, I don't have to leave that metal drum pressurized. There's another line up here. I'll put right there, actually. And it's going over here to that barb fitting I showed you earlier. Well, actually, you're not going there. It's going up to the top, to that barb fitting that I showed you earlier that fills up the fuel cell. So this part is done. The only thing I got to do is just put the 55-gallon drum out there, screw the pump on, and I've already got, take you on a little ride over here. I've already got all of the fittings on this, on the outside, right out here. So I've already got this is my input side pressurized. This is what the oil will come through, and it has to screw into that pump to get the oil. So it's all just kind of hanging there right now, waiting for our drum. So, like I said, that's pretty much done now. The whole fuel cell thing's done. And now I have to wait and see if the magical USPS ferry could find my valves. But I'll kind of take you through an overview of what I'm going to do on this piping. So right here, this is just, I don't even know why that's on there. So right here, just above this, probably at about somewhere on there, I'm going to put that T that's going to be drilled out, so I can see my flow right through here. And then above that will be that needle valve that I'll adjust flow on. And then this will bend back to here, go up the wall, come over, and then into this here. And this is what will feed the oil to the burner. So, I'll probably repeated myself several times on how this is going to work. Sometimes you just got to repeat it to yourself. I have it all written down, but that goes. So that's what I've got done so far, and hopefully I'll get the fittings. It's saying Friday now, and today's Wednesday. Well, technically it's Thursday, because it's like 1 a.m. So 2 days, whatever. I'm not going to split hairs over it. 2 days, and I should have the fittings to plumb to the burner. And then our only obstacle after that is this. So I'm going to go up to about right there on the brick, and then drill a 4-inch hole through for my chimney. And then on the bottom of this, where we made the cage, is where I'm going to put those 2 fans. One fan is for one fan is to get the burn chamber hotter, and one fan is to go through those heat exchangers to facilitate more heat at once. I think they're like $40 a piece. So, yeah, I may have to wait on that one. But I could cap off those 2 lines and fire the machine up, after the exhaust goes in, and actually burn it in, because it's still got the red and orange paint, whatever it came with stock as being an air compressor back in the day. So we'll burn that off, and I've ordered some Rust-Oleum paint that's like 2,000 plus Fahrenheit, heat resistant. It's just flat black. Oh yeah. By the way, another reason why she could tell I'm not in the garage working is that. So that's a little workstation I created for her, because she is getting ready to start her own business on doing candles and hearts. So sometimes I walk out here, she's already out here. So hopefully I get rid of this sickness and I don't get like that for working in the shop, because I really need to get this waste oil burner. It's like, hold on a second, let me see what time it is. So this is exactly 1:30 a.m. and it's 53 degrees outside. Now 53 degrees to me is still t-shirt weather. I would still wear my uniform shirt, right, this shirt here, and it won't bother me a bit. But now other people, they'll freeze. But it's getting cold quick. This in 2 weeks it's dropped like literally 30 degrees in the night, and it's dropped about 25 degrees during the day. We went from 90, 95 degree days to 70 degree days. So yeah, it's time for the waste oil burner to be online. Okay, so that's going to do it for right now until Amazon, USPS, whatever finds my fittings. I can't plumb that in yet. So when they do, we'll come back. I'll show you the plumbing. The video's getting pretty long, and we still haven't started the machine yet. So I need to get this done. Okay. So I got some of my fittings in today. Today's Friday. They were supposed to all be here. They're not. But I did get some of them. And tilt the camera down and let you guys see what I am doing here. So I've started to put together everything. I've got these, which is just compression fittings with 1/4 inch MPT. So the idea is you put the tube in here, and this little compression fit in here, goes over top of it, and then that end pushes it, and you get this. So I had to barrel connect these together. This is the needle valve. Now, I had this all together and on the burner just like 20 minutes ago. And the reason why I took it back off is because the tees that I see everybody using to adjust the flow, it is the way this fits. Remember, this is the one that I did. The way this copper line fits, there is, and I've got a crappy camera, so I know you really can't see down in there, but there is a ledge about right here in the halfway down, and it will not let this go any further. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I had a call come in that I had to take. So, as I was saying, there's a wedge, and it stops this. And I had this all together, and the T is drilled out so that you can see your string. And I was looking up in here, again, I don't know if you can actually see up in there. But it seems to me the oil is just going to kind of drain down the sides of this, and it's not going to give me that string that everybody else is getting. So what I did was, I took the fitting, I took it all back apart, and I took the fitting, and I took a drill bit, and I drilled that ledge out. And now, as you can see, I can put that fitting as far down through there as I want to do. That wedge has nothing to do with how it seals, because it seals with this and that other piece. And it crimps this into that piece and makes the seal. So this has nothing to do with the seal up here. Now, you may ask, well, why? So for that, let's walk over here, and I'm going to show you why it matters. So here, I don't think I can get to it. So here you can see the T. It is drilled out right here, and then it has a natural hole in the back, and holes here, and it goes down through there. So before, what you were getting was pretty much that, and you were not able to see any of the string. So now what we're going to deal with is this. So now, if you notice, you can see that copper line right there, and I'll be able to see the string that comes out of it. So that's why we're doing this. I haven't saw anybody else mention this on the 90,000 videos that I've watched on this, and they've never once mentioned that you needed to drill this out so that the thing can go all the way down through. So I thought I'd mention it on mine. So if you're out there making one of these, make sure that you can, just find you a drill bit, drill that ledge out of here. That way you can put this down in so that you can see your stream coming off here and it doesn't hit the sides of the tee. Because if you just do it the way with the ledge, the oil is going to come down. It's going to come down off the sides of this, off the sides of this, and it's going to go down to the sides of the tee. And where the tee is drilled open face for you to see the stream, you're just going to lose oil. So with this, down below where you drilled the tee out to see, it'll create a stream, and you can see your stream. Like I said, nobody put that in their videos that I seen. I just happened to notice it when I was putting this together. I was like, well, how am I going to see my stream? And then that led to, well, this is not going to be a stream. I'm going to lose oil. So I just kind of figured this out on my own. I mean, there may be a video out there somewhere that somebody said to drill this out, but I didn't watch that particular video. So I guess tip here, drill this out. So I'm going to get back to putting what I can back together. I just thought I'd let you know that. So this is what that should look like. And you can see right there that it's that tube. It's coming in right there. So I can adjust my needle valve and I can see my flow. So just a heads up on that one. Nobody has ever put that on anything that I saw. Okay, so now I've been doing a lot of this stuff off camera, and I got to get used to doing it on camera. But here's what we've got done so far. I've got this plumbed. I'll bring you over here. So what we got here is this leads into the burn chamber, and it goes into this tee where I can see my stream. And I did tell you before about putting that down further. There's my needle valve, and then it goes out, around, and it goes up in here, and there's my shut-off valve. So this supplies all the oil to the burner. And then there is our air setup to push the air from the outside, or push the fuel from the outside into the reservoir here. And let's see, a trip outside while it's still light. I'll show you this. So here's our 55-gallon drum. It just sits right outside the door here. This is where, right here, this is where the air pump is going to screw in. Right now I don't have it on there, so it's not there. So this line here is our air input, which is already cut down, and there'll be another regulator on the pump. And then this line is where the fuel, the oil, is going to be pushed through. Now, what I did was, I put this to where I'm missing one barb fitting here, but it goes like that.
so that when I pump the oil out of this, I'm straining it as I put it in to clean it, but I also want this. This is, I believe it's a hydraulic oil filter setup. So it'll come in, get filtered again, then go back out into the garage and over to the fuel tank. So that's basically how that whole setup is going to work. So we will go back inside. So this garage was not a shop, whatever you want to call it. It was not insulated. It was open. It has like an attic thing to it, and it was open. There was nothing there. There's just plywood runners down the center for storage. So what I had to do to keep all this heat in is go through and put all this insulation in so that once the heat from the waste oil burner gets into the shop, it won't escape. So that's about it. We've got it. The only thing we're missing now is, let me show you that. So we've got this piece in, and I've got that stove cement around this to where it's not going anywhere. It's pretty good. But I've got to run this up to that top block up there and put a 4-inch hole in it, go outside, and then turn up for my chimney. So that way none of the fumes are trying to kill me in the garage. I got enough things in this shop that try to kill me on a regular basis. I don't need to waste oil burner on it. So that's where we're at. I got to get that barn fitting for over there, and I got to get some. Obviously, I got to get some exhaust piping, and for whatever reason, you can't buy a hole saw that's 4 inches that'll go through cement without buying an SDS Plus drill. So I guess I'm about to buy one of those. And then we'll get that drilled out. We'll get it sealed on both sides and get it all plumbed into the waste oil burner. And then hopefully, because if you're building one of these, I made this mistake, and it's a big mistake. So I did all this stuff, and I did it. I should have done it in a certain order. I should have done everything on the waste oil burner itself first. That way I could have tested it outside, just kind of rigged up some gravity fed thing to put oil in it, and tested it to make sure that my air was right, my fuel was right, that the burner was going to radiate the heat right, that the heat exchangers I put in there were going to work right. I don't think I'm going to have a problem with any of it, but you never know. So be sure and build it in a sequence to where you can test your waste oil burner before you go committing to drilling a 4-inch hole in your wall for the exhaust. So I've showed you how all the air works. I've showed you the manifold, everything. And we just showed you that we got it plumbed up. The burner is plumbed to the fuel cell. And I showed you the filtration system out there. So that will be about it for now until I